Friday, March 19th, I did not feel like running today. So I did a 5K WOG, which is a mixture of walking and jogging, which is not too impressive. And I'm not happy about it, but left leg is not feeling it. It's kind of tight in the hams and feeling the shins, and maybe I need a rest, but I'm trying to keep a streak alive. Running is a cruel mistress. I'm not even sure what I'm going to talk about. I will think about it, maybe come up with something, maybe not, I don't know. Saturday, January 20th, and I'm finished a 10K. It's colder than I expected it to be. It dropped off a lot from yesterday, and then I didn't run very early because I still feeling some shins, but I held out okay, so that was all right. And I still wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, and then just before I went running, I saw something on Facebook that set me off. I thought I had managed to avoid talking about this or getting too upset about this, but then I saw a notice posted from the Crawford County Library in Grayling, Michigan, where I come from. That's where I went to high school, having to do with Dr. Seuss books, and it's got me going. I am a huge fan of Dr. Seuss, and I own many Dr. Seuss books, and so this was disturbing, and I'll talk about that this week. So again, it is Sunday, March 21st. It was a lovely day. The precipitation is all staying over in the mountains, and it's a light breeze, but not too bad. The sun is shining. The sky overhead is pretty clear blue. It was a nice day. I did about 11K, about 7 miles. It was a good run. Felt better than I have in a few days. So as I was saying, I am a huge fan of Dr. Seuss and an even bigger fan of public libraries. So I was really upset when I saw the Crawford County Public Library using the recent kerfuffle over 6 Dr. Seuss books being pulled from production. And this is because when I think about libraries, I like to think of them, I have faith that they are purveyors and providers and pursuers of truth. And this is just a lie, that this notion that Dr. Seuss, Theodore Geisel, Ted Seuss Geisel is being canceled. I mean, he published nearly 50 books, and they're pulling 6 off the shelves. Only 2 of them, of which were really very interesting or very good in any way. One of them was historically significant in that to think that I Saw It on Mulberry Street was his first children's book published. And the other one, If I Ran the Zoo, I think was pretty decent. The other 4, I can't even remember what the titles are right now, but they're really forgettable, not significant parts of the catalog. And this was not a case where these books were being canceled, as it were, by the liberal left, the elite purveyors of political correctness. These were pulled by the Geisel family, the people who are responsible and who hold sincere trust and faith in maintaining the name, the reputation for Dr. Seuss. He's not going to be disappearing from shelves. He's not, you're still going to get your Grinch at Christmas. You're still going to have the Cat in the Hat. Green Eggs and Ham are still going to be popular, a book that was written on a bet, and it's Dr. Seuss's biggest book. So to use this hoopla over nothing to try to convince people to bring books in is sad, and it also perpetuates a myth or a lie or a false conception of what a library should be. We'll talk about that tomorrow. It's bright sun. Hello, it's March 22nd, and I ran a new route. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. A lot of stops, but that made it sort of a fartlek, without much speed to the speed play. So, talking about libraries. Libraries are not supposed to be warehouses for storing the dead. And they really should be a literary garden. And gardens, like all gardens, it needs weeding, it needs pruning from time to time. Sometimes it needs reseeding. And when you act as if you can't bear to part with any 50-year-old book just because you happen to like the author, you're likely to invite, I don't know, the proper gardening term, some kind of root rot. There are many, many, many books that published in the last 50 years that deserve a place in your public library. Children's books, illustrated picture books that deserve a place in your public library more than the 6 books eliminated by the Suess family. Seriously. So it was an easy day. I stayed home while my older daughter drove my younger daughter to practice, and I stayed home. Took an easy, short day. It was crazy weather today, all over. It was cold wind, hot sun, scattered clouds, a little bit of spitting sprinkles, and I went overdressed. But anyway, I don't know why I talk about the weather. What could be more boring in a vlog? So yeah, libraries should be living things. They need to be updated. They need to, go through and look at their contents, their catalog every year with a critical eye. And some things don't need to be preserved forever. You need to make room. I assume that the Crawford County Public Library is not building a new wing every year or every couple of years to expand infinitely. You have to get rid of the old sometimes to make way for the new, because sometimes the new is better than the old. I think Dr. Suess would have understood this for sure. In 1978, he revised some works that he had, published 20 years earlier. He recognized to some extent that he had, missed the mark with some of his artistry. Not completely. He was not a perfect man and didn't recognize some of his own shortcomings. He grew up at a time and did most of his work in the mid 20th century. He was important during World War II. He had wanted to go fight on the front lines, but the military, the Defense Department, stuck him and P.D. Eastman and I think Bennett Cerf and a few other creative type people and set them to work basically creating propaganda. And that was really where probably a lot of his anti-Asian reputation comes from, are those years. But some of his drawings, he didn't understand the hurt that you could cause marginalized populations, because he didn't really, he grew up in a time where that wasn't recognized. And so, while I don't think it's fair to judge the man from a 2021 sensitivity, that doesn't mean you excuse it and you ignore it. So you take the good, you keep the good, and there are a lot of good things that Dr. Suess did, and you learn to 86 the bad. Talk to you, Barn. Hello, it is Wednesday, March 24th. Just finished a new 10K route. Walked a little bit, not too bad. So, one thing I want to make clear is I'm not really concerned with defending Dr. Suess here. That's not what I was primarily concerned with. It's this issue of culture wars taken up in my old hometown. People feeling that cancel culture is threatening their perceived way of life, and it's just laughable. It blinds us to our own privilege and our own subconscious biases and racism that we need to be aware of. It's not enough to feel like you're not racist. You have to be an anti-racist. I didn't coin this term, but it's not enough to just say all lives matter, blue lives matter. If you don't understand what's problematic, what's wrong in those statements, then you're missing something, because those lives have always been treated like they mattered. And the trouble is, the marginalized people of society still faced hurdles and carry burdens that we have to recognize. That's what I'm disappointed when a library fails to recognize that. One more day tomorrow. It's March 25th, Thursday. The wind is back, the cold is back, the clouds are back, winter is back, and my left leg is not back. It's feels blown out. I walked most of the last mile or so home today, and I hope it's not long lasting or serious. Just some shin splints or something, some garbage term like that. Anyway, going to wrap up this week by going inside and taking a look at the bookshelves. I just want to make this one thing clear that, I am not opposed to Dr. Suess. We still have, even though my youngest daughter is now 15 years old, starting to drive soon, she'll be turning 16 in just a matter of weeks. These are some of the Dr. Suess library that we still hold on to. These from about here, these are actually Dr. Suess books. So yeah, One Fish, Two Fish, The Foot Book, I Can Read With My Eyes Shut, Hop on Pop, One Fish, Two Fish, Green Eggs and Ham, Cat in the Hat and the Cat in the Hat Comes Back, 10 Apples Up on Top, Dr. Seuss's ABC, Fox in Socks, and then, multiple copies of some of these. Plus, these are all Dr. Suess library by other authors that still come from the family and the publishing house of Dr. Suess. So he's not been erased. Curation is not cancellation. Keep that in mind. Enjoy the Dr. Suess. That is still worth enjoying. And don't be afraid to discard old, outdated ideas. Till next time, don't forget to be awesome, and I will talk to you again soon, hopefully. Let's look at these. And look, I almost left this out because it was down here on the big bookshelf. Sneetches and Other Stories by Dr. Suess. Definitely worth reading, and one that Dr. Suess, gives evidence that Dr. Suess himself might have had some second thoughts about some of his earlier works. Okay, that's it. Done talking about Dr. Suess.